What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm going to be doing my full review of the Demco AD20 and 20S scales from Original Goat. I did pick these up here recently and do an install of these. I picked up the full titanium reduced weight scales, and when I actually placed the order, they followed back up with me because I did want to do the lanyard hole delete. And I did also want, again, to have the full reduction of these scales for weight on this particular knife, because I knew with the titanium it was going to be heavy, and I still want to EDC this knife on the regular. So that was important to me, but they do have their full weight scales. It will add the weight to the scales. So let's go ahead really quick and check the weight before we dive into too much more about the scales and my thoughts on them. All right, let's see what they come in at. So with the lightweight scales on the 20S coming in at just over 6 ounces at 6.1 ounces. So anyone that was interested in that, there you go. Weight coming in just over 6 ounces. Again, that is the reason I wanted to get the reduced weight to help with that. The other thing I'm debating on, I don't know if I want to try to go with the, let's see if I can get the colorway to show up. I don't know if I want to go full blue. I think I want to go full blue with this pocket clip and move away from the fade. I think the solid color would be just enough of a pop of color, and I love blue. It's definitely one of my favorites, so I think that's what I'm probably going to end up doing with this, is just going with that like 24 is it 24 volt? Hold on one second, let me check that real quick. Yeah, I think it's somewhere between 24 and 30, so I'm going to mess with it today to try to get that going. But I wanted to give my feedback on these scales in case anyone out there is looking at anything for Original Goat, even if you're looking for the Demco, the Delica, the Deca, oh Lord, wrong knife, man, the Deca, which the aluminum scales just came out for, and I can see them probably building some titanium scales for that as well. I went with the original pattern on here because I do have the shark bite pattern on the, and I'm pulling that out now, on the 20S, I'm sorry, 20.5, and you can see it's a little bit sharper, but it really good texturing. I like the sharpness on the smaller knife because it is a little smaller in hand. It gives a little additional traction on it, but you can tell some of the differences here. I'm going to close these up as I bring them in. So this one here, chamfer down, but this one here has more chamfering around the edge here, and I obviously think that's because of the larger size of the actual scale. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of, you know, some of the additional touches to detail that you're going to find on these particular knives. I just love this pattern because it gives you texturing, but it's not actually sharp in the pocket at all. You see, hopefully that angle there is helping you to see just how smooth it actually is. So going in and out of the pocket, you don't get any resistance and no catching, which I really appreciate, because the original scales on the knife, Original Goat, original scales, but the original scales on the knife have a landing pad there to prevent that. Everything from a fitment perspective was really nice. One thing I did want to mention, as I was saying, they emailed me back when I reached out, or when I put my order in to have the lanyard hole delete and reduced weight. They had asked what blade steel it was, because the blade steel for the S45EN is a newer variant, so they needed to know what size these pins that cross intersect here were for their build, because there are differences from the D2 and some of the Crewware and the original ones versus some of the more recent steel releases that they've done, and these apparently are larger diameter, so they needed to open it up. Having said that, from a fitment perspective, everything was snugly fit without being too tight. So it wasn't like I was fighting to put everything back in place, but there was no wiggle or jiggle at all, so the fitment is fantastic. Fits really well around the pivot as well. It is recessed slightly, but I think that's because when you actually go across the scale itself, you don't actually feel any transition. It feels like it just goes from the textured position, the textured feel, to a smooth feel over top of the pivot. Same thing can be said about all of the hardware screws, save the ones that go to the pocket clip. Feels really good in hand. That extra weight just makes it feel a little bit more solid It's not a huge weight gain from what it was with the G10. I think with the G10, I think it was like 5.6 ounces or maybe 5.4, but everything on the actual scales feels really good, and I've really enjoyed it, like I said, because I did get the original goat scales on the 20.5, and I really liked the fitment, and I loved their backspacer, but I didn't want to get another backspacer. I wanted to kind of keep the open hole construction. I do like the backspacer. It is very nice. It looks really good. That's my own ano job on there. I did the fade to kind of match that, and because I did this one blue, I think that the fade looks good on there. But I think what I'm going to do is just, again, this one here has already been polished, so it has that reflectivity. I think just going solid blue gives it that pop of color and looks really good. But overall, just really impressed with Original Goat. The other thing that I really like about that company is they're listening to the consumers, and they had an outcry for Deca scales, and they made those Deca scales. And I know they're starting to dip into other manufacturers, but I think the real obvious ones that they could have gone after are Spyderco, but that market is so saturated. I think it was smart for them to come out with Demco scales first, especially for the 20.5 and the 20. And then the Deca is an untapped market. Really smart on their part to bring those out. The scales, especially if you're just buying the aluminum scales because you don't like the Grivory or G10 scales that do come on the two variants of the Deca, it's a really nice upgrade option. And I'm telling you, having done that on, I've gotten the Flytanium ones on the Benchmade, going from a Grivory to a titanium or some type of metal really makes the knife feel a whole lot different. It adds real girth to it. It adds real solidity to it. Obviously this thing is starting to stick. I think I'm about due for disassembly and cleaning on this one, so I'll probably do that update. But it just really changes the dynamic of the scale or the knife because of the scale. Putting the titanium, even the aluminum scales on the knives, to me make it feel more premium, make it feel like it's more substantial on hand. Anyway, hopefully if you're considering Original Goat scales, whether you're considering it for the 20.5, the 20S, or the Deca, this has helped you. Again, really great fitment out of the two that I've purchased from them. Their customer service has been really, really good, which I appreciate. The good communication and follow-up, and the orders were completed correctly as well, because I had both of mine delete that lanyard hole. Really don't like that lanyard hole. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and take a quick break. I'm going to pause and do the anodizing for that particular clip and wrap up the video. So I'll be right back. Okay, we are back, and taking it to a solid blue pretty much did what I had hoped, and just making that one solid color be enough of a pop of color without being too busy like it was with the fade. So I do kind of like that. I wish the collars were titanium, because I think I would probably do those in blue as well to kind of match that. What I may end up doing though, potentially, is getting the titanium back spacers instead of the steel ones, and doing that in the same blue colorway, and just giving that little bit of accent to it. But I really do like the way that it looks. The scales look phenomenal, and I have plenty of anodizing videos out there if you're interested in that. Looks like there's still a little bit of purple in there, so I might need to take it up to 25. But again, more of a solid colorway. I think looks like a pop of color without being too much. Anyway, let me know what you think about the Original Goat scales. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, leave a like. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. I'd love to have you follow along. Thanks to everyone out there who regularly supports the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a fantastic week. I love you guys. Until next time, peace.